What's up? I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast,
where we interview successful businessmen and women to let you in on why success doesn't have a single formula to follow.
We also have a little bourbon tasting along the way, because why not?
Why not?
So guys, please enjoy this episode and let us know your thoughts at Bourbon and Business Podcast on Instagram.
Coming to you from the Bourbon and Business Studio here at the AC Hotel in Ridgeland. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast. How you doing this evening, Dakota?
I'm great, Tyler. How are you?
Doing phenomenal.
Did you trim your beard?
Yes.
It looks good.
Since the last episode.
It looks good. You can tell.
Yeah.
It's very shapely, like a Roman.
You know, I get the clippers out every now and then and shape it up.
Use Manscaped?
So, no, I don't think mine's Manscaped.
Okay. That's fine. You know, to each their own.
I mean, I don't use the Manscaped.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I don't use that brand. I use the cheaper.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
But it works.
If it works, it works, man.
To get that mustache, though, you definitely have to invest in some good.
Yeah, you got to get some good clippers for something like this.
For sure. All right, Dakota, you want to introduce our guest to us?
I do. Today we have special guest, Luke Kujacznski. He is the co-founder of Tame the Noise. Luke, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Glad to have you. And then what are we sipping on, Dakota?
We are sipping on what's called Duck Club Bourbon, and it is bourbon for the outdoorsman. That's what the back of it says. I'll let you guess the proof.
It's pretty good. It's very smooth. So definitely, I'm going to say 90 proof.
92.
So super
close.
smooth. I mean, it's almost like you're sipping on watered down bourbon, not in a bad way. It just doesn't have that burn to it.
Yeah.
I'm not meaning it in a negative way. If you're not a big bourbon drinker, if you don't like the immediate burn, then this is probably a good bourbon for you to pick up. But it does have a hint of a burn after you've had a sip. You can sit there for a second. So I do like that. I mean, what did you pay for this bottle, Dakota?
It's like 40 or 50 bucks.
About for 40 or 50 bucks. Definitely a good one to have on your shelf. If you want to bottle this, you pick it up at Cheers Vineyard in Gluckstadt, Mississippi. They have pretty much anything you want there.
Yep.
And I'm going to have to land at a 8.0.
Okay.
So I like it. Very good.
Good deal.
Well, Luke, we like to always take this portion of the podcast. Just tell our listeners where you're from and then how you became the co-founder of Tame the Noise.
Well, the first part of that question is real easy. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan. So we're stuck like halfway between Detroit and Chicago. So out there, it's a nice area. Love it. As far as how I became the founder of Tame the Noise, you said you had a 30-minute cap on this podcast, so I'm going to have to try to do the abridged version. My therapist always joked with me, and she said, you've lived like 4 lives. So I will try to recap kind of quickly. Tame the Noise, how it came to be. I mean, it's been a 25-year journey. And I think it started just being what I would call a non-traditional human. My parents were hippies for a while, and then they were part of it could be loosely classified as a cult for the latter half of my childhood. So we have a lot of mixed things going on, but the end result of that was me getting sent to a military school for my last 2 years of high school.
Oh, man.
You know, the kids that get sent to military school, I didn't really fit the mold, but my parents said I had too much energy, and so they shipped me away, which I think was supposed to be a punishment, and it was one of my favorite experiences of my life. Bunch of guys living up in the UP, working out all the time, super cool training, super cool experiences. But I got some of my first glimpses of what real leadership is. And funny story, real quick. Military school, obviously everybody has ranks. The guy that ran the whole thing was a colonel. He liked me. So we'll start with that. And that probably helps the story go a little bit better. But we were doing firefighting training, and we contaminated all the water in the entire facility. Like no water, no cooking. And so our group as punishment, we had to drive like 3 miles down the road to a place that had clean water, fill up all the buckets to bring them back so that 500 people could eat.
Man.
We had to do that for like 2 days. A lot of work on top of everything else. And one of the last days we were walking out, and in the kitchen, they were making cookies. And as you can imagine, a whole bunch of, 16 to 20-year-old guys, like their appetites are insane. There was a strict do not touch the food in the kitchen rule. Don't do it. But a couple of us snagged cookies on our way out. We're like, we earned this, right? Like, we've been bringing all the water for the last couple days. Like, we're going to take a cookie. Kid you not, like 45 minutes later, hey, Kujacznski. And then they listed a couple of my other buddies, like, come down to the colonel's office. I'm like, oh no, we're toast. We got down there and we got not what we expected. It was, hey guys, there's rules here for a reason, right? Like, we have all these guys. If everybody takes stuff from the kitchen, like, it's just going to be anarchy. So don't do it. But I understand why you did it, but don't do it. But I get it, but don't do it. We're like, okay. He's like, I think I scared you enough. And as we were walking out, he said, hey guys, next time you do it, grab me a cookie. And it was just kind of this like we have rules that we need to follow. They're really, really important. And don't take yourself so seriously as a leader. Like, you can joke around with your team. You can joke around with your guys. Like, that's not going to diminish your leadership. Impact, I think it's only going to increase it, because there's a respect there that we saw this man that was in charge that we were all terrified of as the leader, but also very human at the same time. And I think it's important that we don't separate those two things when we look at leaders or when we are leaders ourselves.
Yeah, don't be like a completely different person.
Right.
At the office and at home.
Right. Like, be you. Like, be human. You are allowed to be human. We don't expect people to not. So yeah, that was one of those first experiences of mine. And it was I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of memories from that. I got done at military school and came back, started going to college at a community college, got accepted into U of M. I was on the track that every firstborn doctor's son is on. Med school.
Very nice.
I lasted 1 semester. I was doing the math and I'm like, if I do what I want to do in medical school, I'm still going to be in school when I'm 36. Like, I can't sign up for that. I had grown up working in the trade, so I dropped out. I actually got married to my high school sweetheart. We're coming up on 25 years together in the fall, which
congratulations.
I think is one of my biggest successes. And I worked the trades for a little bit and then ended up starting my first company when I was 23. It was in the construction business, commercial and residential insulation. 2003 is when we started it. We were just really getting our feet underneath us in 2007 when we had a massive crash. And if anybody knows 2007, 2008 housing crisis, it was not a time to be in the trades. It was absolutely brutal. About 2009, I think, we were starting to come out of it. We had successfully weathered the worst of it. And I was meeting my business partner to go over a job. And he sat down, he looked me in the eye and he said, I'm done. I'm like, what do you mean you're done? He's like, I'm done. He's like, so either we can file for bankruptcy together. And at that point, I'm like, there's some stuff he's not telling me that's happened. I was the field guy, the office guy. He's like, we can file for bankruptcy together or you can take it over. At 29, I think, I was like, there's no way in hell I'm filing for bankruptcy. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Hindsight, I should have 100% filed for bankruptcy. When I took over, I found out that he had lied. He had filed taxes for the last 3 years. He had taken out an extra loan. We had about $180,000 in accounts payable. We had $5,000 in accounts receivable. and we had $2,000 in the checking account.
Hmm.
That's a hole. It's
Yeah.
a massive hole. And because I was committed, I just like put my head down and went. And I did a lot of good stuff, but I won't remove the factor that there was luck involved. There was a bunch of government programs that we were able to plug in, retrofitting existing houses. We still had to do the work. It wasn't like a bailout package, but it was government contracts that were multi. And I sold the company debt free for mid six figures, like 13 months after I took it over.
Wow. Quite the turnaround.
Yeah.
Quite the turnaround. Turnarounds have a cost. They
Yeah.
always have a cost. And so I went from 80, 90 hours a week to no job, just a stay-at-home dad. And that was hard. That was really, really hard. The finish line for me was selling the company. It wasn't any thought. I put zero thought into whatever happened after that. Just sell the company. And I found myself, back to my Polish roots, found myself pouring a vodka on the rocks at noon on a Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
I found myself doing it again and again. And it became pretty evident within like a month and a half of selling the company that I had a pretty significant problem. And I mentioned that and I want to say, I know the podcast is Bourbons and Business, and I love that. And I have no problem. And there's a lot of humans out there that can have a drink and not think about another one. I do not fall into that camp. I have a drink and I think about the next 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been sober for 15 years.
Wow.
And it's still there, right? Like it's
Mhm.
not like it's a different thing. It's not like I quit because of lifestyle stuff. I had an issue in my family. My dad, come to find out 20 years later, had a problem. His dad, his grandma, like it was a family line, right? And I decided I had to cut it. It was hard. We don't need to get into that. I share that because that was pivotal, and that's like feeding into why and how I started Tame the Noise. And I call that lifetime number 2. Lifetime number 3 started when I went back to school to finish my degree while being a stay-at-home dad. And kind of this first, really dark night of the soul process in that I had started a company, I had turned a company around, I had sold a company. In my mind, I had skills. And in like an 8-month period, I made it down to the final 2 applicants for a job that I really wanted, like 8 or 9 times. I was the final 2. And they picked the other 2. And it's hard not to take that personally, especially on the heels of like a big success. And so 2 years after that, I started volunteering at a nonprofit. And fast forward a little bit, a lot of stuff happened. They found out I could raise money. And a year later, I was the CEO of that nonprofit.
Wow.
Again, that sounds great until you hear I took over at CEO on a Wednesday because the CEO that came before me had a stroke and was in the hospital because the organization was in such disarray.
Oh my. This
So
sounds similar.
It's very similar. When I took over, we had enough cash in the bank for the next payroll and a half. And the board said, we should shut this down. We should sell it. And I said, no, there's something here. Give me 6 months. We ended up taking that organization from all part-time staff and a $200,000 budget to $3.5 million in annual revenue in 4 years. And changed the city, did some of my favorite work about valuing humans. We worked with previously incarcerated individuals, and I loved it. And I ran that organization, grew it to 23 full-time staff members in 7 years. And then decided that I was done. But to be fair, I was as burnout as a human could be.
Mm-hmm.
Same pattern, right? Like
Yeah.
the big push, cost everything, no boundaries with work, no identity out of work. And so I left there for what I thought was going to be a cushy country club corner office job at a large construction company that my friend ran. And I was fired for the first time in my life 4 months later.
Whoa.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming. I mean, that led to one of my more miraculous, I'm being facetious here, job laddering techniques. I went from CEO to BDR manager in 9 months.
A little different.
Yeah, like a little different, but I was just like, I have to get out. And then the next 2 years, I just kept getting unlucky in the startup game. Hired by a company, you guys, I mean, we've all heard it. 6 months later, they sell and they're acquired. You spend a little time with that team. It's not going well. You leave, you pick up another one. And it led to, honestly, close to a full mental breakdown of just like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I pick something right? And I spent about 3 months spending 2 to 3 hours a week in my therapist office, and we worked through a lot of it. And I came out the other side with a clear understanding of really who I am and how that's independent of work. I started consulting for multiple organizations in the behavioral health space, and that led me into formalizing my coaching practice and, starting Tame the Noise. And now at Tame the Noise, we work alongside founders that are in that transition period of some version of that, right? Like their company's struggling, they have to turn it around, they have to shut it down, they need to fundraise, they need to sell. They sold and now they don't know who they are. And it's kind of feels like it's meant to be. It's where it was all heading.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
that's a lot.
well, and
That's a lot.
yeah,
No.
for sure a lot. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
But I think you touched on, something very important, I think, for our listeners and business owners to hear. I've heard it from time to time. People put it as signal versus noise and things like that. But as a business owner, you're getting noise from everywhere, but what is the actual noise that I should let in? What are the things that I can say, hey, these are going to move the needle? And then you've got to tone out the things that will not. Can you speak to that for our listeners? Maybe there is a business owner and they're getting the noise from everywhere. How do they decipher what do we do to move forward as an organization?
I think in general, you have to decide and, really, I think pause and think about which signals and what are your actual goals. Because we can't determine what's noise and what's signal unless we know what our goals are. We had a business that we worked with, and the guy was saying, like, I need to grow the business. I need to grow the business. I need to grow the business. And he was stressed about that. But every time we talk, he's like, I'm not spending enough time with my family. I want to be involved with my kids. And that's a struggle for a lot of business owners. But I would say we can't determine what's signal and what's noise until you say which one of those is priority. And how do I start setting boundaries around what is my priority and what isn't? The other thing that I don't think people who aren't CEOs or haven't been a leader at that level realize is the pressure to make a perfect decision. And with how easy it is to access other humans, we can start crowdsourcing our decisions. And we actually create more noise because we're avoiding making a call, right? And so, I used to do this, like, oh, talk to this board member, talk to this mentor, talk to this other person. I knew all along what decision I wanted to make. I was just trying to get other people to de-risk it for me. And we have to balance that. We have to balance that. Like, it's not good to just say, I'm going to make this decision, but limit it to 3 or 4 people. and make those 3 or 4 people have you coming to advice and them giving you feedback as a two-way street. So I think about it in circles, right? So if you're in a leadership position, you should have 3 or 4 people, some personal and some business, that know where you want to go and have permission to give you feedback. And those are the only people that you take feedback from, unfiltered and unquestioning. Then you have your next circle of all the other people that you work with and you see all the time. You care about what they have to say, but when they give you feedback, run it through those 4 people that are closest to you that know what your vision is, and they act as your filter. And that's one real good way to cut out the noise, because I could hear, Dakota, you could call me and say, Luke, I've got feedback for you. And I would listen. And then I'd go to
that guy's an idiot.
4 people. I'd go to one of my 4 people and say, Dakota said this. What do you think? They're like, no, you need to listen to that. Okay. And now I'm paying attention. Or no, because that's how I would kind of how I would phrase it. That's how I do it.
Yeah. No, that's so good. I mean, it makes me kind of sick, I guess, when, a CEO is going around and they're like polling their employees on a new policy or something. And I'm like, what do you think they're going to say? You're the guy in charge, or you're the girl in charge. Like, they're never going to tell you their honest opinion. Or even if they do, you're never going to know if it's their true honest opinion or not, because there's always going to be something in the back of your head, or at least in mine, if I was a CEO, it's going, are they being honest about that? Are they being real? Or is it just because, I'm in the position of power where I could literally fire them? What's,
right.
What is it? So that's good to have that circle of people who can actually give you honest feedback, that you don't just kick them out of the circle because they gave you feedback you didn't like. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like they stay in that circle because they get to be the ones that provide that feedback. So you have to be very careful about who you select for that circle. But once you've got it, you've got a really solid team of advisors, if you will.
Yep. For sure.
And I think another key thing you touched on is, actually having a vision for the organization. Where do we want to be a year from now, 6 months from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? So many people and entrepreneurs, when they get into business, they're so stretched thin on doing everything in the business that they never take the time to actually sit down and write those goals down. And they're just, their goal is, hey, we're going to grow the company.
What does that even mean?
At what cost?
Right.
At a cost to your values, at a cost to your non-negotiables, as what you said you would and would not do, like the person you talked to that said, hey, they wanted to be there for their family. Right. Well, guess what? If you want to be there for your family, you may not need to grow by, double the size of your company, because that may mean you have to give up that time with your family. Now, there may be ways to work through that, but unless you've actually got an intentional plan that says, hey, this is how I want to get to where I'm at, and you have those trusted advisors, the people that you can lean on and hold you accountable, that say, hey, you might want to pump the brakes on this, because you ain't going to be home for the next year if you make this decision. And a lot of times in business, what people don't understand, when you make a decision, we're not talking about a decision on, hey, whether we should buy this type of notebook paper or printer paper or this. We're talking about a decision. Hey, we just invested $1 million into this decision, so it's got to work.
Right.
And if it does not work, the company's going to shut down. So there is no leeway of saying, oh, I'm going to leave here at 5 every day, regardless if it works or not. And so I think being able to say, hey, I got to lean on these people and know, hey, while it may be a shiny object, it may be something that looks, great. It's not the right decision. It's against my morals. It's against my values of what I want for my life. So I think that was a great thing you pointed on.
The answer is yes. I will be your advisor.
You're going to be my advisor?
Yes.
So
I will be in your circle.
But like to that point, right? I have another CEO that I'm working with that's saying they want to grow. They have the vision. They have the 5-year plan, but they don't realize and they're not comfortable with the silence that often comes with being the CEO. Like, you have space. Like, if you're doing a good job and you're handing stuff off to your team, you might have some space in your day. Mm-hmm. That's for you to go work on the future. That's for you to go work on, take some time, a little bit of time for yourself. It's to go plan and be out front. But because that is scary, what I see a lot is the CEO, instead of doing that, goes to his team and saying, hey, what are you guys working on? Where can I pitch in?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Like, we don't need you down here doing this. We need you ensuring the future of the company, right? But that gets into this, you're in charge, you have white space. What do you do with it? How do you act intentionally? Because most of the CEOs I work with, when I say we're going to create some boundaries and you're not going to let your team bring everything to you just on a whim, we're going to put a rule in place. They're like, well, what am I going to do now? I'm like, you're going to go work on the stuff that you're saying is important.
Yeah.
Because this stuff is handled.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's this balance that I think why I'm passionate about coaching. I had an executive coach that changed my life. I had periods of time where I wish I had a coach, that you just need somebody to be like, hey, remember last month when you said this was important to you and you didn't follow through with that? Let's have a real conversation right now about like what you're actually going to do. Right?
Well,
so good.
Yeah, and I think that's a learned skill, being able to. Most of the time, the CEO at one point, they may have been a one-man shop, one-woman shop,
worked their way up,
and they were the best salesperson on the team. Yep. They were the best, whatever it is.
Operations, yeah.
And so it seems foreign to now you're thrown into this position of CEO that you've never done before,
right?
And then you've got all these new responsibilities. It's like, well, I'm good at this. Don't they want me here doing this? But it's like, well, yeah, but who's steering the ship?
Right.
And, and it's even for CEOs, it's a learning curve once you get to that position.
Especially if the founder is not around anymore and like there's no one there that like had the original vision to continue to, preach that to everybody. And I think about like the new guy at Apple, right? Like Steve Jobs, rest in peace. And then Tim Cook took over and he did a great job of growing it, but in like kind of a safe way. They never took too big of a risk in anything, right? But he did a good job with what he was given. And this new guy's already come out with like all these different ideas and he let a couple of things leak out to the public, and it's like, man, okay, here we go. The founder's not here. Even the second guy has stepped down now. So like, what do you do in that role where that original visionary is not just preaching the goal and the vision to everybody? It's up to you now to be the visionary.
Yeah. And it's so much work to do that. It's so much work to change course. Like, we had a saying, I would talk to my team about the vision over, and they're like, we've heard it. And I said, I understand that, but like, this person that's only been here for a month, they've only heard it once.
Yeah.
And I had a rule that a message didn't start sticking until I got like absolutely sick of saying it. And so many leaders come in and say, hey guys, this is the plan. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to go. And they expect everything to just fall in behind it. Mm-hmm. And leadership is ongoing, maintaining that vision, curating that vision, taking care of your people, making sure they know. And that's enough. That's a lot of work.
A whole lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, Luke, definitely some great information, even better story to hear your story. It's always good when we have someone come on that actually has done something over a 25-year period, 30-year period, and then are able to share the insight from that, a real life story from somebody in business that has been successful multiple times, but also in those successes shifted and come out and done something different and been successful in that. And then also share their failures. Because I think a lot of people, a lot of times people have the tendency that we're going to put out only our good stuff.
Right.
It's like they want life to be Instagram.
And then that gives, the people coming behind us, it's not really fair to them because they're like, well, Luke did it and everything Luke did was a success. And I've had a failure, so I'm a screw up. Mm-hmm. So I think that's great and it's refreshing to hear when we have people come on and are willing to share those with us.
To me, the failures are why I'm here today. If I had just had the successes, I wouldn't be as empathetic or caring or present or any of that stuff. So we always talk, and I'll end on this, of this career path, this idealized career path that we have, that it's like point A to point B, linear up and to the right. That's kind of like when we start our career, that's what we think is going to happen. And in reality, it's like up, down, over, back up, a little backwards, back. And that's normal. The linear path is not the normal path.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody who sat across from people that have had that jagged path and people that have had that linear path, I'm going to tell you guys, the guys that have had the jagged path and the gals that have had that jagged path are way more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk to because they've lived. They've lived.
Yeah.
So
I'm for sure.
Love being here with you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. Tyler, go ahead and give me a bourbon break. Second opinion on the bourbon.
Give us your thoughts on.
Again, shout out to Cheers Vineyard in Gluckstadt, Mississippi. Thank you so much for your sponsorship. This part of the episode is brought to you by them. It's pretty good. I thought it was actually hot for a 92. Honestly, I thought it is the aftertaste is where you get the burn though. It's not on the front. It wasn't my favorite though, so mine at 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah. It does have a cool there's like a shotgun shell as the
that's
top
awesome
on the bottle, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So
cool bottle. If you want a bottle, go to Cheers Vineyard in Gluckstadt. And then Luke, tell our listeners, maybe there's an executive or business owner that's listening to this and they're like, Luke just talked about everything that I have going on right now. How are they able to get in touch with you?
Well, I'm very active on LinkedIn. That's a very easy and quick way to get a hold of me. You can also go to our website, tamethenoise.com. And there's multiple ways to get a hold of us there. And yeah, I'm around. I'm very accessible intentionally.
Perfect. Well, however you stream this episode, if you would give us a rating and follow us on social media, and we'll see you next week. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
If you have any feedback or would like to be featured, reach out to us at bourbonandbusinesspodcast@gmail.com.
Or find us on Instagram at Bourbon and Business Podcast.
Thanks again for listening.
Follow us for more content and info on the next episode.